Steve McDonald, our president, really had the foresight to really begin succession planning, to really think through the next tier of ownership. And he had a real plan in place. So we have like tiered ownership transitions really set up well for the future. That's a challenge a lot of companies is we had a lot of senior people who had been here a long time and transitioning them to more mentor roles, but also bringing up the new wave of young talent and making sure that they're trained and retained. How do you differentiate yourself? And the way you differentiate yourself is, it's relationships, the people you have and the technology and your reputation, all that. But at the end of the day, it's just having a common conversation and a relationship and problem solving. How can I help that client? Whether we have an engagement or not, or a contract or not, is how can I help them with information or help them with each situation? You're constantly thinking of ways to make their life easier, better, and make them look good.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Design Development, your hub to learn direct from top performers in real estate development, design, and construction. I'm your host, Renz Hayes, founding partner of H&O Lifelong Learner, and I am personally obsessed with high-powered organizations and the leaders that guide them. If this is your first time listening, thanks so much for joining us. And if you're a returning listener, can't thank you enough. Let's go. My pleasure to introduce today's guest, Scott Bates. He is a shareholder and the Vice President of Strategy and Development at Erlen Construction. Erlen Construction's a $310 million open shop general contractor in the greater Boston area. They serve a number of markets. Scott himself is really grown in the construction industry on the marketing and business development side. So he's not a civil engineer by trade, and he's really led a successful career all the way to being a shareholder. Something else unique about Erlen Construction is they've been focused on succession planning for more than a decade here. Several tiers of ownership throughout the company, and most recently they worked for 2 years on launching an ESOP, an employee stock ownership plan that covers 30% of the ownership stake. So that means all employees have a piece of the company. There's a lot of great takeaways here on marketing, business development, succession planning, and general contracting, or really any business. So if you know somebody that needs to learn more about that, is interested in these conversations, and wants to improve their business, share the episode. Without further ado, let's get to my conversation with Scott. Please join me in welcoming Scott Bates. Scott, thanks so much for joining us today.
I appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. I'm really excited for today's conversation. Erland is a brand, Erlen Construction. It's a company in the greater Boston area. I've always appreciated and admired their brand, and come to find out we got introduced, and you've been heading up their marketing and BD and strategy for a little bit more than a decade. So for those that don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and Erlen Construction?
Sure. I've been in the business for about 25, 30 years. I've been with Erland for the past 12 years. I'm a principal owner with Erland. Erlen Construction is an open shop CM based in Burlington, Massachusetts. I've had a bunch of different roles since I've been here since 2011, from marketing and BD to actually an operations role where I was running the academic, corporate, and technology group, to currently I'm now the Vice President of Strategy and Development, where I'm overseeing strategy, the new ESOP, as well as continue to work with BD and create a BD marketing culture within our organization.
Really exciting. Obviously, design, construction, real estate, that's my thing. But I've really developed a passion for marketing, business development, obviously organizational strategy. So there's a lot that we can jump into as the conversation goes. Erlen Construction, for those unfamiliar, I'm sure greater Boston people know the company at least by name. Could you share a little bit about the company size, what markets you serve?
Sure. So we were formed in 1977 to be the open shop arm of Maycomber Construction. Maycomber was a really reputable construction management firm based in Boston, to do the open shop work for Maycomber in the northwest part of Burlington for Norblum Companies, which is a developer here. We split years ago with Maycomber, but we've been on our own, and we've grown from doing office tech to now we went into multifamily and academic. So right now we stray in the following markets: multifamily, senior living, lab, life sciences, private schools, colleges, and that's pretty much it right now. And the office market's tough right now. Maybe some repositioning of work in the office market, but that's really those are our main markets we're pursuing, and we pretty much primarily focus on the eastern side of Massachusetts. We'll go to Springfield. We'll go to northern Connecticut. Um, but beyond that, most of our work is within 495. It's between Cambridge and Worcester. That's typically where we go. We cover in those areas. And right now
really interesting.
We're about 110 employees right now, and we had our most successful year last year. We had 320 million of revenues, which is fantastic, and we're positioned well for this year. And we've had tremendous growth over the last 10 years, like tripling our revenues over the past 10 years. So it's been a nice, it's a really nice run here, and I really enjoyed it. To be part of this organization through its growth and transition has been a great experience for me.
That's really exciting growth. So over 10 years, tripling. And for anyone that's worked in business leadership, they're going to understand it's one thing to scale a company to 3x a company when you're 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. The bigger and bigger you get, the harder it is to scale. So to go from 100 or so million to 310, 320 million is a really exciting ride. So I'm sure that's exciting for the team there.
It's exciting, but it has its challenges with growth, scaling, going to larger jobs, different types of subcontractors, more risk, but there's definitely more reward at the end of the day. It's been great, and the bigger the jobs, the longer they go on. So it's not a bunch of little jobs where you're having to feed the engine all the time. These are long jobs that go on for a year or two. We have a bunch of those types of projects going on right now. So it's a different company than it was when I first started here, and it's very exciting. We're doing jobs up to $100 million. I don't think we were doing those types of jobs when I first got here. So
to leave a little teaser for the audience, something we're going to get into here is the unique ownership structure of Erland. Succession planning's been a emphasized there for over a decade, and they have several tiers of ownership. And most recently, Scott was involved in running out an ESOP, an employee stock ownership plan over the last 2 years. And it's about 30%, if I'm right. Is that right?
Yes, Scott? Yes, that's right. Steve McDonald, our president, really had the foresight long time ago to really begin succession planning. When I first got here in 2011, he was already working with FMI and others to really think through the next tier of ownership, who's going to be taking over him and Chuck Facilio's and Tom Blesso's roles down the road. And he had a real plan in place where he brought in a couple new owners, myself and a couple others. And then he's recently brought in some younger owners that are sort of the millennial generation. So we have like tiered ownership transitions on top of the ESOP that we recently developed for the whole company to benefit from. So it's been a really big part of Steve McDonald's focus, and I think we're really, really set up well for the future. And I think that's a challenge a lot of companies is we had a lot of senior people who had been here a long time, and transitioning them to more mentor roles, getting them into retirement and a good retirement, but also bringing up the new wave of young talent and making sure that they're trained and retained.
Steve, if you're listening, I applaud the vision and the focus on succession planning. It's what allows these companies to move on and live long past their owners. We're going to dive into the details of that plan and the thought process and the strategy behind it. I want to learn a little bit more about you and your story.
Sure.
Scott, where did you grow up? How did you end up in construction?
So I grew up in Concord, Massachusetts. My father was a teacher at Belmont Hill School for 30 years and coach. And so I ended up going there. So I was a faculty brat, but I had benefited from a great school. And, a teacher's salary just doesn't cut it living in this area. So he he was building houses and flipping them and keeping some of them. But some of the unique aspects of our summers was every summer we were going different places because he was shipping houses out to different places. And we spent a lot of time in Colorado where he would ship out deck houses and acorn houses that were like modular. And he would be able to build those in one summer And then we come home back in our station wagon with our dog and go back to school. But he was able to build homes in one summer, and some of them he kept, some we flipped. And so I spent my whole career in growing up, like watching him and being a part of his, helping him out on some of the job sites and just watching him uh, build these homes and just was fascinated by it. I love the building aspects of it. And then I came out of Colby College thinking I was going to be an architect, and I got into construction. I worked for a developer in Portland, Maine when I first got out of Colby, just as an internship role. And Joe Bullis was his name, and he's a wonderful organization, Bullis Companies up in Maine. And he said, if you really want to get into this business, whether it's architecture, construction, development, no matter what you want to do in your life and your career, the best thing for you to do is understand how things are built. Go on a job site and really understand how things are built and what things cost. And I took his advice, and I worked for a design build firm up in Maine for a few years, where they gave me the opportunity to work on a job site, LL Bean distribution center in the cold of winter. Really appreciated working 6 days a week in the cold. Then came inside and did estimating, and I was doing the estimates, and that was the time we were doing estimates where we were running through payphones and random places to get the last part of the bid. I mean, I learned everything, and then I went into project management, and then the recession hit. So I came out and had to move back to Boston and got into marketing, and then I got my MBA, and I came out and I had it was like peanut butter and chocolate. I had like marketing and experience, and I had construction experience. What do I do with this? And I put it together, and I've been doing BD and marketing in the construction industry ever since I got out with my MBA out of Babson in 1994. So it's been a great run, and Tishman Construction gave me a wonderful opportunity for 14 years to do a lot of great things with them, grow their office in Boston and help them out in Las Vegas as well as LA. And it was a really great run, great culture there. And then until I moved to Erlen back in 2011.
What preempted you to invest in marketing? What drew you to marketing? Your background, you saw your father building homes in a summer, the entrepreneurial spirit. You wanted to be an architect. You worked for a developer. You estimated, and you found yourself going back to an MBA and then falling in love with marketing.
I just love, I kind of just love, sales and marketing. When I was a kid, I was trying to help him sell his house. I was a paper boy. And I think when it got into construction, I just like the visual elements of selling something you actually see and you can visually touch. And there's so many aspects to it, from the blue collar to the white collar to the construction to the architecture, the engineering. There's so many facets to it, and there's so many ways of selling it, and it's so many ways of differentiating. And I think marketing has a big role in how we as companies can differentiate among each other. And there's a great stories to be told. There's so many stories between the people to the how we build it, to the types of technology we use. Just fascinating. Every year there's just different stories about our business that's transforming our business that makes it kind of fun. So I'm constantly trying to learn all the time about new ways of marketing, new ways of technology, new ways of doing things. And it's just, it's always evolving. You're always learning in this business. I mean, it's not static at all. That's the great thing about it. And the business development side, I'm big. I'm not like a hardcore, I wouldn't call it slick salesperson. I'm more of a relationship builder. I wouldn't even call myself truly too much of an extrovert. I'm more of an in between introvert and extrovert. But I just love relationship building and one-on-one, conversations and building that trust with people, but also selling value, but also selling trust. And that just came naturally to me. When you work for good companies like Tishman and Erlen, it's natural to sell the people and the trust and the integrity, and then also, follow through with the people that doing the work. So I enjoyed the combination of the marketing and BD, and I did that at Tishman. I was able to write the proposals, write the stories, but also go out and sell. And I love that combination. Today, I have a marketing team here that helps me with all the marketing at Erlen.
Something I'd like to point out there, you mentioned you're not really an extrovert. You're not really an introvert either. You're kind of a blend, but that doesn't mean someone can't be successful in a sales role. There is this perception from people outside of the sales world that everybody in sales is this big extrovert that wants to be the center of attention and is just wheeling and dealing out there. But that's not really what sales is, right?
It's so true. It's so true. Especially in this business where, I mean, this is the biggest risky investment any company school makes. And this is, it's usually a one-off type of buy. It's not like you're selling widgets all the time. But this is really about how do you sell something that, there's 10 other good firms out there. How do you sell something like Erlen? How do you differentiate yourself? And the way you differentiate yourself is really it's relationships. I know it's the people you have and the technology and your reputation, all that. But at the end of the day, it's just having a common conversation and a relationship and problem solving. I mean, I'm really big on not just selling, but it's like how can I help that client? Whether we have an engagement or not, or a contract or not, is how can I help them with information or help them with a situation or give them articles or whatever I can do just to make their life easier, to help them out. You're constantly thinking of ways to make their life easier, better, and make them look good. And that's just natural. And that's not necessarily extroversion. That's like just basic common sense, business. And I don't think you have to be, if you come across as too extroverted and you're in a room and you're looking over your, shoulder, looking for the next person, and you're not really concentrating on the person you're talking to, and I think you're going to find yourself, you're not really going to be as respected in this business. It's about long term. It's about repetition, being in the business a while, especially in Boston, which is, very close knit, parochial, and you want to make sure you get to know the people and they get to know you. And eventually it's about reputation. And hey, go to Scott, talk to him, and he works at Erlen, he can help you out in that pre-construction, that job. That's what you want. That go to immediate top of mind, person. That's what you're hoping for.
Like you said, you're trying to help your customer. And if you're going to help them, you do so by helping identify a problem that they have and then helping them solve that so that they can overcome their obstacle and achieve success. And
100%.
When you build good relationships, you can get into those conversations and understand their needs and obstacles and goals better than your counterparts so that you can help solve their problems better.
Yes, I love it. I love problem solving. I love helping out. And, there's so many different ways you, whether you're an architect or an engineer or a builder, you can help out those clients in any way. Just information. I mean, just cost information. I mean, that's the magic dust is how much things cost and what's the escalation happening right now? What's the lead times? All that is like real-time data that I love sharing with our clients just because they need that. That's, fortifies their belt and they have that to use when they're going forward, when they're planning out their projects. That's really important information that we like to share and help our clients out and make them look good, whether they go forward with us or not. We provide a lot of that upfront pre-con pro bono work that's helping them make their jobs, work. And that's really what our job is, to help jobs get off the ground and help our clients succeed.
You have a unique background compared to a lot of people in the construction world. If I think about the large majority of people that work and make up general contracting companies, they tend to be civil engineering majors, construction backgrounds. They worked in the field, moved to the office, or maybe they jumped straight to the office. But their background is typically technical, focused on the how. They understand buildings. They can kind of walk the walk, so to speak.
Yes.
You have some of that experience, but then early in your career, got the MBA, focused on marketing and business development, and still navigated your way to an ownership role. Can you talk about the nuances and what things were you focused on that made you successful in the construction industry?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. I'm really proud of the path I've taken. It wasn't easy. I got into construction. I got into marketing. I got my MBA. But I came out of a liberal arts school where I majored in economics. There was no civil engineering. There was no experience with understanding of real estate or finance or construction. I sort of had to make my way. All my friends in my 20s were making a lot of money in New York or Boston. I was in Maine on, walking steel for minimum wage. But I knew I was following my dream of being in the built environment. But I came from a liberal arts school, and then I went into marketing, and I came out and did my MBA. So I approached this business from a generalist point of view, a liberal arts point of view, a business point of view. But I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. But then, I was really trying over the course of my career, was always trying to move and try to bridge over to the operation side. I was given some opportunities at Tishman to run some work, but I was really trying to bridge myself into a role where I'd have a little bit more respect in the business, that I kind of knew construction more. I think there's something about construction about there's a respect thing where you've come through the trades, you understand construction, you problem solve, you know the issues, you know the sub. There's something there versus being just strictly marketing and BD. I wanted to bridge that, and it took a lot of perseverance, a lot of frustration, and I finally was given the opportunity at Erland. They were really remarkable in giving me the opportunity to go from BD to marketing to, not only giving me the opportunity to become an owner here, but they also gave me the opportunity to run a group, the events. It was the Academic, Corporate, and Technology Group, which I grew to 85 million. I was overseeing 40 people, and they trained me. Complete exposure. I was completely in the deep end, but I was surrounding myself with strong operations people. So, sometimes you have operations people supported by sort of marketing people. I was supported by really strong operations execs. So it really worked out well. We had a good team, but I had appreciation for, wow, this is a lot of work. This is a lot of stress, daily stress. 90% of them a day, it's like putting out fires, stress, issues with projects, issues with safety, issues with quality, clients, subs, you name it, personnel issues. And I'm like, it was a completely different role than being marketing BD, where you just go home on a Friday and you could just forget about the day. I was thinking about the day. I was thinking about the day all through the weekend, and it really kept me up at night. And I think
that's what makes construction so hard.
Yeah, and
I can't leave it.
Yeah, work. I learned a lot about myself, and now I'm in this new role where I've been helping the last couple of years with this ESOP transition and strategy and marketing BD, that I'm really best suited to be really in my core competency of marketing BD strategy, helping our leaders grow our company, make us more competitive, differentiate, make us better, and help with this whole succession planning too. So I kind of learned. I mean, I think we're all grown to you sort of, there's something innate where you feel like you have to continue to grow and you want to be a leader. You're going to be the top person. And I'm like, I got above the clouds, and I saw the view, and I was like, I'm comfortable doing what I'm doing right now, and I'm content, and it's more me, and I'm going to be more successful therefore because of that.
It's fulfilling to you.
Totally fulfilling. I love helping out. My president. I love helping out everybody, but I know my role now. I know I'm my comfort zone, and I know what I'm good at.
That's a really good point of being fulfilled or content, or taking the time to evaluate what's important to you in your life. Our career and climbing a corporate ladder or earning potential is such a small piece of our life. It's an important piece, but it's not everything, right? You have your family, your friendships, your mental health, your physical health. There's all these other facets that balance out our life. And you don't want to be sacrificing all of those things to try to chase the corporate ladder for what? Prestige, status amongst your peers? What's actually important? I think it's different for every one of us.
Renz, what I wanted to share, one thing about that, transition from marketing BD to ownership and to more of an operations role, is that I know a lot of people, a lot of talented women and men out there who are in marketing BD roles that I think there's a ceiling there that they can't really get through to get to leadership or ownership. And I just want to give those people hope and faith that there is an opportunity with perseverance, because think about any other industry. I mean, a lot of industries, consumer product industries, a lot of the leaders come from sales or marketing or finance or other places other than building the actual product. So I just want to give those people hope. And I want to see more opportunities and more people take advantage of that, because I think there's a role for a good, strong marketing person, whether it's a woman or a man, in leadership roles, because they know
100%.
they know what the client wants, and they're going to do whatever they can to drive that success through working with their teams, and they're going to drive a culture, and they'll surround themselves with that operations expertise. But I really want to give people hope that there's not just a one path. There's multiple paths to get there, and there's peaks and valleys, and there's a lot of stress along the way. But it's if you stay persistent, I think there's a good opportunity for people in marketing and BD roles.
It's a great message, Scott. One of the ethos behind design development is to share the career story of top performers in development, design, and construction, so that people throughout the industry can see parallels in their story to some of these leaders, that hopefully is helping connect the dots to find that next step, to give them the courage, the belief that they can go accomplish what they set
Right.
their heart on. The other piece, marketing and sales, those
Yes.
two skills are of the most valuable skills. They're two of the top most valuable skills in today's world by far. Like, if you have a skill, if you can market a product, you can be successful in any industry. I would say one or two caveats. One, like, good marketing doesn't solve a bad product or a bad service. If it's a good product or a good service and you have a good marketer, like, the world is your oyster.
Yes.
Like, the sky is the limit, but you can't overcome a bad product. The other piece I would advise anyone in marketing in any industry is, if the owner or the leadership team doesn't understand or believe in marketing, you're never going to be able to climb that ladder. You need to find a company, you need to find a leadership team that understands the value of marketing.
Yeah.
And then you have to develop a plan to understand how is success going to be measured? How are you going to be judged?
Right.
And that's the way that you create a path that you can then chase your career forward and be rewarded or compensated appropriately for your value.
It's so important. A lot of leaders don't even know the difference between sales and marketing, which is really a shame. They just think it's all one and the same.
Two completely different skills.
Two skills. What we do here at Erlen is every year we have a very thorough marketing and BD plan, and it's like a roadmap for our marketing. And marketing really sets the tone, sets the brand, helps the business development. It makes it easy for the door to open. It's that entree. It's that initial impression and vision of Erlen. When someone gets a call from Erlen, they've already been aware of them, and they've seen them through some marketing, advertising. So it really helps with the sale and open the door. But we put together a very thorough marketing BD plan in the fall that lays out really the groundwork for really targeted marketing, really targeted business development. So there's accountability for our teams to really pursue the right people, and all that research is done in the fall, and we follow that, and we track that, and we measure that, and that's really important. You can't just go out with a shotgun approach these days. You have to go out with a real rifle shot approach, where you're really targeting people that really fit your types of work that you do, and whether they value are they up for doing negotiated work, or are they just up for doing lump sum bidding, and they're just one-off kind of clients. And we look for the negotiated type of clients who do CM at risk, and so that takes a lot of work, and that takes a strong marketing and business development plan set out from the start.
Hey everyone, quick break from the episode. If you're enjoying today's episode, please send this to a friend, like, share, comment, subscribe. It's the only way we're going to help more people. Let's get back to the show. Let's talk about building a marketing and a business development kind of team or strategy. So you've been with Erland, I think you said 2011.
Yes.
So better part of 12 years. And in that time, you guys have tripled revenue. So if you think about, could you share like what has gone in, like how many people are on the marketing and BD team? How has that changed from 2011 today? How did you kind of ramp up to help drive that growth?
Sure. We've always had like 3 or 4 people in marketing, and right now we have three people in marketing, one person on maternity leave. One person is really the lead sort of. Actually, we have four people, excuse me, right now, currently in the marketing department. One person is
Could
really
you break down the roles of those
yeah.
four people? Like what
Okay,
makes up the team?
one's more of like a senior marketing strategist, writer, orchestrator, sort of manages the whole program, what's coming through the department. Now we have an assistant writer, social media writer. We have a graphic designer, and we also have a videographer, a photographer who does all the videos for our training programs, but mostly important for our social media campaigns. So we have video, photography,
project,
exactly. We'll do a lot of video snippets on a weekly, daily basis of our people, of our projects, situations, fun skits, you name it, that are constantly out there on social media. So I think we have four people right now in the role of marketing, and then business development. We have myself, and we have one other person doing BD, and she's really focused right now on one particular market, but she's going to probably branch out to other markets. So, but we're trying to instill a BD culture amongst our executives and group managers. Our group managers are responsible, part of their job responsibilities as group managers. We have three group managers, one for residential, one for academic corporate, and the other one for advanced tech life sciences. And those three people are responsible for bringing in work for the separate groups and making sure that we're meeting regularly to talk about strategies and following that business plan. It goes back to the business plan. Are we going after those targets? Are we meeting with the right architects, owners? Do the owners' reps know what we're up to? I mean, there's influencers and then there's targets, and we have to get to both. The targets take longer, and the influencers, you want to make sure the influencers are aware of what you're up to and what market you're doing, and provide them with information and helping them out as well. I mean, you're supposed to be, you should be helping them out, not only find work. I mean, if you can help them find work, it's super beneficial to you because usually there's a return. So, and then we're also,
when you say influencer, you mean someone who can influence the buyer.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I mean, bring opportunities to an architect or an owner rep is great business development because you're helping them out, and they're looking for work just as much as you're looking for work. So you're trying to help them out as much. So it's a give and take. You got to be thinking about this business, and business development is not just take. It's a give and take. You're giving your clients information. You're giving your influencers leads and information, and you're giving them connections. And you're giving them data. They want to know about current trends too. They want to know about costs. They want to know about current lead times. They want to know about what's happening in the industry, so they can be educated and ready to answer for their clients. So business development and marketing, it's so much fun, and there's so much to it, especially now with video. And I mean, I'm scared to think what I'm learning. I'm trying to research what AI is going to do to our marketing department. I mean, we're slowly looking into what it's doing, but we're just scratching the surface right now. But it's definitely going to have a big impact down the road on this aspect of business development marketing, but also our business in general, which could take another hour to talk about.
Content creation, copywriting, like it's really going to accelerate creative. I think the most
big time.
Really. And when you think about managing your marketing team, do you guys have like weekly? I like to think of, we set out objectives and goals, but then we got to break it down into what are the daily habits or leading indicators to success for a marketing team. So do you guys manage by like weekly volume, monthly volume? Like what are your metrics?
I just actually coincidentally, I just came out of a meeting with our marketing team, and they give us business development team and group managers an update of what they're working on, from you name it, from press releases to proposals to the social media. And then they give us all the social media, like all the different campaigns that were put out. They have measurements there, and they show us the measurements of how many clicks we got through all our social media what's working, what's not.
Mhm.
Postcards, we put QR codes on postcards. That didn't seem to work very well, but we're getting better clicks on the social media stuff. They give us updates. We do surveys of our clients after the job's done. They want to make sure that those surveys are being done. They're talking about kickoffs of projects, of making sure that the team has everything they need in terms of the scrim for the fencing, to the shovels for the ribbon cutting, to helping with the parties, to closing out projects, to you name it. I mean,
they're keeping a feel on client success or client experience. They're kind of measuring that.
Absolutely, totally measuring it. And one of my jobs, what I enjoy doing is I do surveys sometimes midway through a job as well as at the end of the job, where I survey the architect, the owner rep, as well as the client at the end of the job. And I have a bunch of questions about what it was like to work with us, our quality, how we communicated, you name it, all the way through. And we share that with the team. And it's really just good feedback for our team. And I think it's done at the end of the job more, but I'm trying to get a habit of doing it in the middle of the job, because that's when can have actually an effect to actually change course if you need to change course on a job. And that's important. That feedback is really super important.
Measure what matters, right?
Yeah.
Why did you move from Tishman to Erland? What drew you to Erland? Because I know you think highly and speak highly of Tishman, so Erland had to woo you over.
I had 14 wonderful years. It was a great company, great people. We had some great jobs. It was fun winning the convention center, and I was involved with City Center out in Vegas. I had just some really neat initiatives and products that people to work with. But in 2010, they were acquired by AECOM, and they were sort of morphed in with other architects and engineers. And I wasn't in a position where I saw myself. I didn't see the growth potential there, and I wanted to work for more of a smaller company where I could really have an impact. I could go to a company, and a local company which headquartered here, where the president's here, where the owners are here, and have an impact. And I really zeroed in on Erlen Construction because of they're local. They have a really good reputation. They do the private school work, the really good negotiated kind of work. And I met some of the owners, and I sort of timed it right, because they were in that position of where they were thinking about succession planning, the next generation of leaders, and they were looking for that next generation. And I timed it well, where there was expectations when I came in that they would offer me an ownership role, and it actually panned out really well. So, I owe it to Steve McDonald and Chuck Facilio and Tom Blesso. Those three were three owners at the time, and Steve's still president, but they are the ones who saw the importance of bringing in new ownership at that time. And now we're 10 years later, we bring another wave of ownership. So it's like these tiers of ownership are just like foundations for our company's success and pathway for our future going forward. And so coming here, and it was also really fun for me, because it was like I wouldn't say it was an inward looking company. It was kind of like, it got work because it was just had a great reputation, and they didn't really have to go out and market. A lot of work came to them. And I think our industry changed. There was a lot more competition coming in the last 15 years and 10 years. And we really had to do things differently with marketing BD, but also I really wanted to give them like a makeover. And I was able to give them the green light to give them basically a rebranding of everything, about how our job sites, our apparel, our collateral, how we do things market wise, social media wise, to how we actually train our people for marketing BD. And we were trying to get our people to be more outwardly focused towards the client versus inwardly focused, because we do things really well inwardly, which affects our clients. But I wanted to make sure that the clients were experiencing the value we're providing as a whole.
That's an exciting opportunity for any marketer, because it is possible for a company to be successful without marketing, but marketing can take a successful company and accelerate growth, right? So if you're taking and revamping or increasing the marketing efforts on an already successful company, that's a really exciting position to be in. Something I want to ask you. You joined Erlen with the promise of future ownership. You didn't get ownership out of the gate. And for every story like yours that works out, there's probably, I don't know, 999 that have that same promise that it never proves true, right? You hear of stories like, hey, I was promised ownership and here we are 10 years later and the conversation's not really moving. Ownership transitions are hard. And
Tell
for
me
any
about
owner that thinks they want to transition ownership or they might want to, start today. You need to start learning about that today. And if you don't invest in learning about ownership transition, it is going to be a rocky road.
it. It's a
And
rocky road.
largely you're going to be leaving money on the table because you weren't prepared for that process. It is not a natural thing. It's not something you just think about and figure out on your own. It takes
Right.
education. So could you, like, what made that successful for
Right.
the owners to bring you in, promise that, like, what steps were they taking? How did you navigate that challenge? Because I'm sure you had to promote.
Yes. No. When I met with them, they were selling the opportunity of like, hey, we're retiring soon. We need uh, a new team of leadership and ownership going forward. Um, there was no guarantees. When I came in, they weren't like, okay, you're an owner. They basically said, you're going to work here, you're going to prove yourself. And they actually brought in FMI, and FMI did analysis of all our employees, and they looked at the abilities of a lot of our different people to see if they were, they would be appropriate for
What is
leadership and ownership.
FMI? Can you share?
The FMI is a national consultant for our industry, management
All right.
consultant, and they did 360s, DIS, all those kinds of tests on myself and others, and they basically shortlisted, down to a few people that would be best suited for ownership. So it wasn't guaranteed. It was kind of implied that I would be an owner, and I worked hard, and it was, it didn't. It moved along, but it didn't. It took about 5 years before I knew that it was actually going to happen. So I stayed patient. I was enjoy the ride, but I stayed patient, and but it was a lot of work on Steve McDonald's behalf to make that transition and that investment. The investment, you got to make that investment. You got to make that investment in uh, bringing in consultants, doing your homework, having the right people in place, and really
Sure.
identifying those key people and whether they're at the right age. You might have to stagger these things too, because everybody can't be retiring at the same age. So you have to be thinking about staggering. You have to be thinking about um, what types of roles each play. Are those, if we bring in three owners, are they all the same role, or are they have different roles? Um, I was coming from a BD marketing role, and one person was an exec, another person was a general superintendent. So it was a nice cross section of new owners for the company. We brought in three new owners just recently, and they're millennials, and they're just incredible, talented people that care about this company and the growth of the company. And they're modeling for our younger people right now. And so that not only bringing that young millennial ownership on board and then doing the ESOP, and we can talk about the ESOP later on, but that there's this young group of talent, millennials, and we almost Gen Z, with some really young people who are now they're followers of these young owners, and they see the promise of, like, we're not just working for this old guard of baby boomers. We're working for. We see the future. We see the future. We see these talented, 30, 40 somethings who are going to be here forever, and we want to work to make them look good. So, and then you put on top of it, canvas the ESOP on top of it, and where everybody's now is a shareholder, has some input, and can bring value to the company and can benefit and share in the successes of the company. It's a double whammy of just really good collaboration and embracing the ownership culture here we have now in the growth.
What led you to create the 30% ESOP? So, one, as a recap, Erlen took the time to hire the outside
Yes.
consulting company, FMI, to essentially.
No, we actually hired a different company, PCE out of Florida. They were like
For
our
the
management
ESOP.
for the ESOP to help us walk us through it.
Yep.
But we also had to, we also had, when you have to build a whole team around you. You have the investment bankers, which was PC. You have a lawyer for your side, a lawyer for the stakeholders, the shareholder side. You have a ESOP trustee that you have to hire that represents the interests of the trust and the trustees and the employees. You have a valuation company, which was Markham, that has to evaluate on behalf of the shareholders and not us owners. It's like an independent, walled off valuation of our company. And then you have a third party. We have a third party administrators, which are it's Principal Financial that they administer the shares and the distributions and all the work that goes into that. Then we have our own internal communications committee that we've created to really get people the buzz going, the excitement, educate our people about the benefits of that. And we're about to have our first statements unveiled shortly, which will be exciting. It won't be anything large. We started this. We finished the ESOP in December of 22, but it backdates to January of 22. So there is going to be some. You'll see some shares and some value there, but it's really the excitement will be over time as it grows, as we divvy up more shares and over time. So that's I don't think we're going to get enthusiastic. We're educating right now, but we have the 401k, we match that, but now we're doing this ESOP. And I think people are excited about it, and we're trying to build excitement around it. But I think it's really going to benefit people who stay here, more than 3 to 5 years. And there's vesting too, so it vests over 5 years. So and we benefit. We give we give some credence to people who've been here a long time. We give points to that, so they can vest sooner if they've been here a long time. So there's incentives.
Sure.
So built into it.
Backdating credit.
We're back for credit, exactly. But you asked why do we adopt this? We thought it was the best strategy to move forward with our next generation of leaders and really that preserve that control and continuity in our culture. And the ESOP provides each employee the opportunity to have a role in our growth and success of Erlen. Renz, there was opportunities. I think Steve got many opportunities to sell the company, but he really, his father was the president before him. He's got another family member in the business. I think the ownership team and the board were convinced that selling the company would dramatically change the fabric of Erlen and reduce the cultural and economic opportunities for the next generation of Erlen and our leadership. Mm-hmm. And our succession planning is underway, and we're working through it. And we have minimal disruptions to the business right now, and it's been really well thought out. And it's a good time. Things are slowing down, so it's a good time to really get ourselves in order for the next wave and structuring our company for the next takeoff of this economy. We didn't want to be governed by an outside agency, outside company. We wanted to keep the fabric and the culture we have.
Really exciting stuff. I'm sure you've already seen a change in the team and the culture just by having the tiers of ownership and allowing people within the company to buy in early into the ownership, even before the current owners from 10, 15 years ago they're still working, and there's still several tiers. And then to offer a 30% ESOP to the company, I think speaks volumes. It's sharing company success with the entire team.
And it doesn't cost them anything. Nothing's coming out of their paycheck like a 401k. We're giving out shares. There's no cost to them. So it's free money, it's free shares, and then they get to invest and watch the growth of that over time and be a part of it, and then have a stake in things and actually offer suggestions for ways we can save money. Actually, the accountant is like, oh, you're spending too much, giving PMs too much, giving them a hard time about how much they're spending on their jobs for miscellaneous stuff. And so we have people who are actually caring now about how things are being spent in the company, which is what we want, but not to a point where they're being accused of things. But we want that culture of saving and taking care of our company to help with our profit.
We talked about marketing and BD, the strategy, the team, how you build it out, succession planning, ownership transitions. To close out, before we get to our last few questions, I wanted to talk about Erlen's unique value proposition to the market. And obviously you're the head of strategy and development. So you're the perfect person to talk to. Like as a general contractor, and I'll ask, I'll preface this with like a leading perspective. I look at construction and design as extremely mature industries. Like essentially people have been designing and building structures and buildings for all of time, as far as I'm concerned, which means they're very mature, which means they're saturated typically in their supply, which means it's very, very easy to be commoditized.
Absolutely.
How do you break the commodity market?
It's very challenging to break the commodity market. And we have some serious competition in a lot of our markets, and to differentiate with unique value propositions to owners is very hard, because at the end of the day, a lot of the times we're working through owners reps and people who are valuing us on our fee and our general conditions, maybe our team and maybe our experience. But at the end of the day, if you look at all the competitors, they kind of all look the same, and our fees and GCs are pretty close. But it's we have to sell our reputation, our predictability, our pre-con. The hard part is we have all these resources in house that some companies don't have, but we have to pay for. We have a coordination department. We have a really strong safety program, a quality program. We have training programs. We have a big, pre-con group. We have a MEP division for an open, small or open shop. We're not a big CM like in downtown Boston. We have all these resources, and we pay our people well, but we have to be competitive too. So we find it really hard. We're not going to be the cheapest, but we're selling that value. We're selling that trust. We're selling that consistency and predictability. Rens, look at this. I mean, if you add up our GCs and our general requirements and our fee, we're about 10% of a project cost, say, right? 90% of that is direct work that's bought out. That's really, really out of our hands. We manage it, right? So you're hiring a CM based on fee and everybody's small little differentials, and some GCs, which is very nebulous depending how you evaluate GCs and fee. But 90% that, there's a lot involved in that 90% of managing that. A lot could go wrong or a lot could go right. I mean, there's change orders, there's schedulers, safety, quality, reputation, the staff you put on it, the risk factors, the policies, procedures. We gotta start evaluating. We have to show that, and we have to get our owners and our owners reps to really start evaluating how we manage that 90%. What are we doing differently than the others? And that's really you don't want a bumpy ride. It's not a straight ride. It's a bumpy ride. How bumpy of a ride do you want it in managing that 1 or 2 year project? So we have to differentiate, and it's one of the hardest things I find when you're being commoditized by just fee and GCs.
As I think about your industry as a contractor and staffing a project, like you said, let's say the profit and overhead, whatever that line item is, 2-3%. And like you said, 10% of the project is other costs from the GC for managing the job, like actually boots on the ground, general conditions, those sort of things. If you're going to compete on price, that means you have to cut corners on those costs. You can't operate for less than 2 or 3%, even at that scale. So that means you're going to cut a corner, which means you're taking a risk. And so owners, from my perspective, if I'm going to invest $100 million in a building, I got to balance how much do I want to try to save versus how much risk am I increasing where I could potentially lose that money or a multiple of that cost I just saved down the line, whether it's schedule, whether it's incorrect building, XYZ, right?
Totally agree. So it's really about, it's about the clients we choose, and whether these are the clients we want to work with, and they're going to value us for repeat opportunities. And it's about the relationship, and it's the open book approach, because right now we're open book. What you see is what you get. You've already given out, we give the fee, and everything else, all the sub pricing comes in, and it's all what you see and what you get. You can help us pick the sub. So you're helping us pick that 90% cost. 90% of that $100 million job, you're helping us pick the lowest, most qualified sub. But you're right. In order to keep your doors open, you have to make certain fee. Whether it's 4 or 5%, that's what keep your doors open up as a construction company. And if you're doing 3%, you have to figure out different ways to do that. And it comes down to contracts, and it's about savings clauses, and there's different ways, and buyouts and all that. But it's harder and harder right now with the constraints on our business to make money, like that. So you have to be you have to really negotiate ways of getting things back and having rewards for you to get that potential lost fee back, because it's we have so much risk. There's so much liability, so much risk between the safety, the quality, liquidated damages, supply chain, all these things that are affecting our industry right now, and then especially the labor market, which is really a drag on our business too. So there's a lot of factors and a lot's put on us, and a lot is put on us as well with the whole the design, finishing designs, and building, finishing off the design as we build. So there's a lot expected of our field people out there to complete these jobs. There's a lot of stress.
Good marketing is going to funnel the right aligned clients to the business development and the sales team, right?
100%. That's what we're after, and we've done a really good job, because 80%, 90% is negotiated work, and that's what everybody wants, and that's what you're after, because you don't want to be just on the bidding. We're not interested in just going after bidding everything. We're after that relationship, that trust, doing good work, and getting repeat opportunities, and having that just assume that hey, we'll give you this fee, just go do it, have an open book, we trust you, go. And that's what we're after. And we try to get those jobs. And as a business developer, it's a very frustrating role to be in a company where you're looking for negotiated work. It's very, very hard, because it's the trophy of clients that you want, but it's harder to find. But once you find them, that's what you want. And it's about mitigating risk for us.
What's next for you in Erland, let's say over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think really the excitement is really this transition into our next generation of ownership, and training. Moving that millennial generation. We have a really good core of talent here. Giving them that experience, training them, retaining them, and getting our new ownership in place, and transitioning. Having our senior people helping with that mentoring and training, and sort of moving out of the way and letting this new growth of talent move through. And I think, we have to be doing more nimble. I think in this business, especially with the headwinds we have right now, I think we have to be thinking about our costs and being, controlling costs. And we have to be thinking about new service offerings. We have to be thinking about, do we want to be doing more self-performing work? Do we want to have other types of ancillary services that have provide different income streams? Those are things we have to do, because if you just stay put and as a cheese, you just remain in one place, you're going to get eaten up. So we have to constantly move and evolve. And I think it's first about our people and this transition plan, which is really working out well. It's going to get those people in place for the next generation, but it's also thinking about different ways of increasing that net income, and what are other ways we can do it, whether it's reducing costs or new service offerings.
Top book or podcast that you would share?
Oh, great question. I have a couple of podcasts. During COVID, I got into some meditation classes, and I really like listening to 10% Happier by Dan Harris, who is actually a Colby grad. I'm a Colby grad. And I also like Freakonomics Radio, and how I just got introduced to How I Built This, which was just fascinating podcast.
Very cool.
And the book, I want to tell you about the book I recently read. It's about power of moments. It's our most memorable moments are dominated by 4 elements, really: elevation, things off script, insight, pride, accomplishment, and connection. And this book went into talking about how companies like Disney had, they surveyed their clients who went through an experience of the park, and They surveyed them at all different points of getting food, waiting in line, going on spacebound, you name it, leaving, parking, whatever. And there'd be like their average rating was 6.5 out of 10. But they would like Magic Mountain was like say 10, right? But they surveyed them like 2 weeks later, and their average score was 9. They just love the experience. It's kind of like college. You remember college was like so much fun, but you forget about all the homework, all the tests, the stress. I still have those stress tests, those nightmares of not completing a test and all that. But so you remember the good times. You remember the good times. So there was a real lesson about what can you do for your employees and your clients of giving them that off-script experience of whether it's when you're onboarding or the client, like doing something for your client that they'll remember forever. With their onboarding, it's not just the typical paperwork. It's like taking them out to dinner, taking them out to like a concert that night, or taking a client, doing something for a client, writing thank you notes to a client at the end of the job, or you name it, just something very unique that stands out and like that. Wow, that was above and beyond, or thanking the accounting department at a client, or something unique that just stands out. I'm going to give you one story. Well, first of all, TripAdvisor found that when guests are reporting experiences that are delightful, an astonishing 94% expressed 94% unconditional willingness to go back. So finally, I want to tell you a story about my brother. My brother is a head of school at a private school in New Hampshire. Each year, he has a skip day where the entire student body and faculty climb Mount Monadnock. And so the kids don't know it's going to happen, but they all climb, like 200 people climb Mount Monadnock on a beautiful day, and they just get views of the world up there. And you think those kids will remember that? Of course they will. They'll remember it the rest of their lives. And that's what we want to try to do with our clients and with our employees, is give them that off-script experience where they remember you and they want to come back. And one last thing I want to share is, if you have a minute here, is that I think it's a lesson for a lot of different people. Is we have someone here, Tom Blesso. He's a former owner, but he's a senior person. He's been here forever. He's well respected. He makes a practice, and he teaches it here, of really highlighting and acknowledging to clients an action that we have gone above and beyond to do for them that they wouldn't even notice. Like we found, like switchgear is really hard to find right now, right? So we found, like we telling a client, we found switchgear in California on a canceled job, and they are shipping it in less than 54 weeks. They're going to be here in 30 weeks. Or we resynchronized the schedule with input with our subs and are saving you 2 weeks. Hey, we're doing, we got the deck ready for concrete placement on Monday. So because we knew it was going to rain, and we had all our guys work all weekend long. So you're telling your client all these great things you do when they probably don't, it goes unnoticed. So it's like acknowledging and educating your clients of the things you do, the little things you do to make their jobs go well. So that's marketing. And that's marketing that our own people in the field can do.
Yeah, it's really important to do and so easy to overlook. That's a really good lesson. Yeah. That could even answer the last one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Your best advice for emerging leaders?
Oh, that's a great question. I think, I saw some of yours on your website, and I really, really liked it. But what was it? Let me see. I think it's really about listening, finding a mentor, really build a network early. I think it's really important, Rance, to build a network early, because that's your differentiator as an architect, a PM, is your connections with others and clients and other people in your peers. Because you're I hate to say it, if you're a PM in our industry and you don't have a connection, you're kind of a commodity. You want to have those relationships you can grow into more senior positions where you bring jobs in. Get out of your comfort zone and learn new things. Be a good listener, as I said. Be trustworthy. Don't be afraid to ask questions when you're younger and that you don't know. And as I said, steal your thoughts. I stole one of them, is where continue learning and challenging yourself throughout your career. Those are my advice for emerging leaders.
All great pieces of advice. I'll add to your comment about being known and building relationships there is a book or a phrase that really kind of changed. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. And that almost ties back to your create moments for people to think highly of you. So if like that's how you create a lasting impression and leave like a personal brand or a company brand, is those little touch points really
Yes,
add up to how people feel when they hear your name or your company name.
absolutely.
And that makes sure you're known in the industry. So Scott, thank you so much for joining us on Design Development. I've loved getting to know you. Really appreciate your story and sharing the story of Erland. I applaud everybody at Erlen for the focus on succession planning and inviting the team and creating the ESOP, inviting the team into the ownership plan. So I wish everybody at Erlen nothing but the best, and especially you, Scott. Thanks again for joining me.
Thank you so much. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Hi, everyone. Real quick before you leave for the day, if we could ask one favor. If you enjoyed today's conversation, if you're enjoying all the conversations on design development, please share this with someone that you think will benefit from it. Our goal is to help as many people in the design, development, and construction industries. And with your help, I think we can spread the word and help more people. Thanks for tuning in, and can't wait to hear from you next time.